Rouse's is proud of the creativity and the unparalleled entertainment in New Orleans, and honored to highlight it with their sponsorship of Steppin Out on WYES.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio. Hey, Miss Poppy.
Hello, Peg.
Chef Kevin Belton, who has a brand new national cooking series debuting on Saturday morning on WYES. Welcome back, Kevin. Good to see you.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
Hello, my dear. And you're in the Yes Cafe. We love it. Jan Ramsey is back. She is the publisher and editor-in-chief of Offbeat Magazine. Welcome back, Jan. Hello.
Thank you.
And Alan Smason of theatercriticism.com and the Crescent City Jewish News.
Hey.
Hi, love your suit. Love
Thank
your suit. Poppy, some sad news on the local restaurant scene.
I was so shocked yesterday to hear about the death of Michelle McRaney. Of course, Chef Michelle, 30 years at Mr. B's. Apparently, she died from cancer, and it must have been very quick because nobody seemed to know too much about that. But all I can say is this was just one of the most generous, kind, wonderful people, incredible to work under her. And if you have eaten barbecued shrimp at Mr. B's in the last 30 years, well, you have to thank Chef Michelle for that deliciousness. So she will be very much missed. Such a young age, just 64. Yikes. Now, we're going to have like a female power show today because we're going to start off by talking about a program called Power Plates. And Power Plates is something, this is the third year that Fidelity Bank has put on. It kicked off today and it's running through July 31st. And basically it's a celebration of women in the hospitality business. There are almost 70 participating restaurants this year. And what the deal is that when you dine at any of those restaurants, $1 from specified drinks or dishes is dedicated to the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation, which does such good work. And of course, there was Briquette, and oh my goodness, please give me a wheel of brilliant savarin and some bubbly, and Saba, beautiful pickled Louisiana shrimp. There's very inventive dishes and drinks on this menu, and you can find it all by just going to powerplates.com. And it's a delicious way to eat out and do good. One of those things, you know, we love to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Poppy. And over to Kevin. Kevin, you have been traveling around the state this time, and congratulations to you and Terry Landry, of course, our longtime producer of these shows. So much fun. And so you're in the kitchen, but you're also out of it too. You set up our series here.
Well, you know, we've done so many shows about New Orleans cuisine, and we have such wonderful cuisine, but we have wonderful cuisine all around the state. And this show, I got to go all around the state meeting people, but taking their recipes from certain areas and putting my little spin on it, my little touch on it. So it really highlights all of Louisiana cuisine. And it's surprising how much we have in common.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to show you an exclusive excerpt from this Saturday's show, Kevin Belton's Cookin' Louisiana. Please watch.
man, it is so good to see you all. Where have you been? Welcome to my Cookin, Louisiana kitchen. Thank you for joining me on this tasty tour of the state's best flavors and dishes. Now, we're going to start our road trip in Lafourche Parish. Now, the name Lafourche comes from la fourchette, the fork in French. And many of the early Cajuns settled along Bayou Lafourche that winds through the region. My dad's French-speaking grandparents lived in Lafourche Crossing, and many of our family's food traditions came from this area. So I'm going to start with seafood crepes, which is a perfect showcase for the bounty of the bayou. Who doesn't love a good crepe? So first off, of course, a little flour. And I know you're saying, why is he going to put crepes and seafood together? Because it works, because it tastes good. A little baking powder. Now we're going to get in a little butter. That's right, we're putting butter in the batter. If you've made pancakes, you've made crepes, okay? Growing up listening to the grandparents speaking French, it was really, really special. And to be able to trace and find out where your roots came from, that's really special. Mes chers, bienvenue à Lafourche. I gotta tell you, Cajun culture runs deep here in Lafourche Parish, just 45 miles south of New Orleans. Bayou Lafourche actually is the signature waterway of the parish, and it stretches over 100 miles and flows through the communities of Lafourche. Beltons have been here in Lafourche Crossing since the 1800s. Maybe that's why I'm so comfortable being around water. Oh, I think Grandma's gonna be proud about those seafood crepes. That is a seafood lover's dream come true. Now coming up next, a down-home stuffed crab. It's gonna have sweet, flaky crab meat.
And of course, Kevin, we're talking about Saturday, 9:30, but nationally, almost 300 stations, I understand, have picked it up, so you are going to be once again national. Do you get a lot of national feedback?
It is amazing because I hear from kids, I hear from seniors, I hear especially from folks that grew up in Louisiana and grew up in New Orleans eating Louisiana cuisine, saying, oh, I'm here in North Carolina, oh, I'm here in Delaware, and I get to watch a little bit of home and you make me want to lick the screen and bring back so many memories of what they grew up eating.
Absolutely. Congratulations. We'll be back to you in just a moment. I want to hear some on-the-road stories. But now, Jan, my goodness, late September, October, for any New Orleans music fan, have we got a list of great things? Let's start off with the French Quarter Festival. Huh?
Well, we switched from the spring and having this wonderful music all in one time. We moved it from the spring to the fall. So the French Quarter Festival there are going to be 3 festivals in a row, and the French Quarter Festival is going to be, I think it's September 30th through October 2nd. It was going to be through the 3rd, but they had to unfortunately cancel out that last day because of a sports event. So it's only going to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Sports event.
A sports event. Yeah, I didn't want to, but there's still, you talked earlier, Poppy, about, the female contingent, and I'm going to talk about those today. The first one, the big star this year at French Quarter Festival is IRMA Thomas.
Okay. And I have to do my own PS on that really quickly, but we're so thrilled because WYES and the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation and, of course, Michael Murphy Productions are all collaborating for a 90-minute program called New Orleans' own IRMA Thomas, Her Life and Music, and performances, but a lot of course, interviews with her and her and many friends, and it's going to be really great. So I had to say that'll be on in October, but please proceed, Jan.
Okay. IRMA is such a great person. I mean, just personally,
really.
She's a wonderful lady. I love all the musicians, but IRMA is one of my favorite people ever. And the other, I'm going to pick big names here that are, kind of new to French Quarter Festival. Rickie Lee Jones. We had her on our cover last year, and she lives in New Orleans now, and a lot of people know her from her work on her own, but now she lives in New Orleans and she's doing all her New Orleans stuff, and she's right in the groove with everybody else. The Dirty Dozen Brass Band is going to play, and also Tank and the Bangas and Dixie Cups, and
I'm just mentioning these few, but there are so many other great performers at French Quarter Fest. It's great. It's free. It's a fantastic festival. We're lucky to have it, and we're lucky it survived the pandemic.
We are so lucky. And once again, check out Offbeat, too, because Ms. Jan's in charge of that and does a great job for many, many, many years. We'll see you shortly, but now we're over to Alan for a theater update, sir.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about Independence Day, of course, for the weekend looming large. I thought it would be really important to talk about a piece that was written by local writers Joyce Pulitzer and Sean Patterson, and of course started by David Seelig and Kitty Greenberg of blessed memory. It's Freedom, and Freedom is going to be starting a 2-week run next week at the Stage Door Canteen, BB Stage Door Canteen, starting on next Friday night at 7 o'clock, and also on Saturday night at the same time on the 10th. Sunday matinees are at 2 p.m. Freedom will be starring Lorraine LeBlanc. If that name sounds familiar, it's because she's been playing that same role now for the 3rd time. She plays a Holocaust survivor waiting to take her naturalization oath and officially become a U.S. citizen. LeBlanc again will be featured alongside a new person playing an Irish immigrant. This is Todd Voltz. Todd will be playing this Irish immigrant haunted by his past, and the play's really a comment about the concept of freedom and the promise it takes for those immigrants who come to our shores and are given an opportunity to refresh themselves from the cup of liberty. Tickets are available for both the weekends still right now. Check it out. Freedom by Joyce Pulitzer and Sean Patterson. And by the way, Sean Patterson will be directing this piece. That makes it even nicer. Also opening next week will be the first of 2 Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice musicals, and in the order that they were actually written. Rivertown presents Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat with a major cast to be directed by Gary Rucker. And then tickets are available for that and all seats at Rivertown for Joseph. We should mention that they announced their season for next year just last week. But if you're interested in becoming a cast member, auditions are being filled for all the parts, for all the shows, with the exception of Dolly Levi and Hello Dolly, which has been filled already by the director, Ricky Graham. Now, also, auditions Sunday and Monday on the 11th and the 12th. Check it out if you're interested in becoming a part of their season. And, of course, in 2 weeks, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be able to see Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice's second collaboration, which is Jesus Christ Superstar at Summer Lyric Theater. And finally, we're showing right now Hamilton the Revolution, but I wanted to tell you about some of the other things that I thought might be a real good opportunity to have some of you spend some time as a good American and maybe bask in the patriotic spotlight. First of all, Peggy and I always watch 1776. It's a marvelous musical that bends history but shows the founding fathers, 1776. And of course, I do recommend as well both the original cast, which has some wonderful songs in it. He plays the violin, The Egg, and Sit Down John, as well as I can recommend the revival cast, which starred Brent Spiner. Yes, that would of course be Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation fame, but it's interesting to see how William Daniels tackles the John Adams part and Brent Spiner. And of course, for those of you who want to learn a little bit about history, but with a dark side, there's Stephen Sondheim's Assassins, which does have a lot of history woven into it, but it's a great show, dark comedy there in many ways. There is a lot of comedy in this that you might not believe. And of course, I'd be remiss if I were not to recommend Hamilton. This is the original cast starring Lin-Manuel Miranda. Leslie Odom is Alexander Hamilton. It paints the founding fathers, of course, in different hues with a diverse cast, embracing the story of immigrants and descendants of slaves who are now part of the American portrait. Then, of course, Hamilton the Revolution. It's a book all about the making of Hamilton and backstories on the musical. And then let's go through some books. For those of you who want to curl up with a book, I suggest the Ron Chernow book that launched the musical. This was what Lin-Manuel Miranda on his, I believe, honeymoon had read and was so intrigued by. That's the first of the books that I'm going to recommend. Also by Ron Chernow, his book called Washington, A Life, which, again, heavy reading. You got a lot there going for you. And then those of you who want to learn a little bit more about John Adams, who was, of course, the star of 1776, David McCullough's tome called John Adams is also highly recommended. Also,
HBO series based on the book. I recommend that, too. Paul Giamatti.
Yes, he's wonderful.
Plays John Adams. Thank you. That's a great list. Thanks so much. And now back over to Poppy.
Time for more girl talk, and we're going to start with Louise. Louise is the new business that's at the place where the Cake Cafe used to be on the corner of Charters in Spain. Britton and David Carboni moved their little cafe from the CBD to that corner, and anybody who hasn't been yet, it's just wonderful. They've really got that tradition of Cake Cafe going with breakfast sandwiches, pastries. They serve that until 11 a.m. and then there's salads and bowls and sandwiches at lunch. The food's fresh, it's beautiful. It's a real neighborhood scene and so much fun down in the Marigny. So great place to stop in. And then there's another bakery that has opened up, Leo's Breads, and kudos to that hard-working woman, Kate Heller. She started out selling bread from her trunk, and then she proceeded to the Crescent City Farmers Market, where you can still catch her on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but now she has opened up that bricks and mortar spot on Bell Street. That's right near Bayou Road. It's across from the Pagoda Cafe, and oh my goodness, her croissant. Now, this is a bit of a rage. It's her butter croissant. Her croissants are different from other people's. There's so much butter in them that they're almost like hollow in the middle. And that is what makes it perfect for stuffing with chocolate, strawberry jam, or pecan. Those are some of her other offerings. If you've ever had one of her polenta chocolate chip cookies with pumpkin seeds and millet, well, you almost feel like you're having something healthy. That's a little treat I often have at the Crescent City Farmers Market. So go check out Kate's great work at Leo's Bread.
All right, thank you so much. And back to Kevin. Kevin, some of your travels, I know you also have a cookbook, which I'm really excited. I know you all have been working very, very hard on that. But tell us, where were some of the more fun places that you visited?
Well, you know, what's interesting, I got to go to Zwolle and meet the Zwolle Tamale Queen. And they actually have a competition where who can eat the most tamales in 30 seconds with all the queens take part in this. But, you know, I find that it's just that, you know, we have this saying, joie de vivre, here in Louisiana, and that's true all around the state. But you know, as far as cooking concerns, we know we have 36 different nationalities that came in at one time. I got to visit in Marksville with a gentleman from the Tunica Biloxi tribe, which is an amalgamation of different tribes, and learned about culinary through his eyes and what the Indians contributed, or I should say the Native Americans contributed, and they were the ground, that was ground zero, because they showed everyone coming in how to use everything that was already growing here. So
wow.
it was just fantastic.
Congratulations. I know Marksville well. We spent post-Katrina days in Marksville.
Yes.
So it's a wonderful place. Avoyelles Parish, yes. And tell us about the cookbook.
Well, I tell you what, you know, I had a lot of help with the cookbook. If you look at the screen where it says Monica Belton at the bottom.
Yay, Monica.
That's my, you know, it's behind any successful man, there's always a better woman. And the cookbook takes, it's simple, it's basic recipes, and it pulls from all around the state. In Baton Rouge, we did a synagogue, which is a garlic fried rice with a beef tapas that came from, oh man, I'm drawing a blank here. But there's so many different nationalities all around our state, and that's what we pulled from.
Well,
we pulled from all of that. And it's just such a wonderful time doing it. And our crew here at WYES can't do it without them. I have to say that.
Absolutely. And you also have a DVD highlights video that will be available too. Congratulations, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
News. And back over to Jan, my goodness, where do we begin with the Jazz Fest? We just have to give a little piece of info for today, right?
Just a tiny little piece. They just announced their initial acts, I think it was last week, and it was a lot shorter than it usually is. I think they're playing catch up because, you know, things have been so weird they didn't even know, I think at one point, if there was going to be a Jazz Fest. So, but they managed to book a lot of big bands. You know, Dead and Company, which is a sort of a spin-off from the Grateful Dead. The Foo Fighters, which have they have a very strong connection. They work with Preservation Hall. Randy Newman, who was not born in Louisiana. He's from a very famous composing family, but he's written a lot about Louisiana. You know, They've Washed Us Away. Everybody knows that song. Brittany Howard, who is one of my favorites. She was with the Alabama Shakes. She's fantastic. I saw her with the Alabama Shakes at Jazz Fest a few years ago, but now she's off on a solo career. Stevie Nicks. Everybody knows Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac, but she's had a solo career for a long time. Tower of Power, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. They're from Oakland, California, and they rock. They're so good. Boz Scaggs and LIZZO, who is she is a very popular performer right now. She's Grammy winning, and this is just sort of the creme de la creme of all the national acts that are coming in addition to the hundreds of Louisiana and New Orleans bands, social aid and pleasure clubs, Mardi Gras Indians, etc. So it's going to be a great jazz fest, hopefully.
I can't wait. Can't wait. Absolutely. And Economy Hall, that's where you'll find me, because I love Michael White and all the wonderful bands that he selects. But thank you. And LIZZO seems to really like New Orleans. She's been here a lot. So, but thank you, Jan.
You're welcome.
And moving over to Alan again, who's going to be on your show next week?
Well, first off, I want to talk about who was on Monday. For those that missed the Monday night show with Rickie Graham and Gary Rucker, it's archived. You can check it out on any of the sites where we broadcast. That's the NOLA Theater Talk Show on NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, or the NOLA Theater Folk group that we have. We also have the Facebook page for the theatercriticism.com, and also YouTube, my YouTube channel. So I wanted to check those out. Again, coming up this week, we're going to have a really wonderful opportunity to talk again a little bit more about freedom. And it opens, as I mentioned, at the National World War II Museum this coming week. But on stage, this is from the 2013 production. You see John Neisler. And, of course, the following 2019 production starred Curtis Billings. But in both cases, it was, as I mentioned, Lorraine LeBlanc. She is going to be on the show along with the new kid on the block, if you will, Todd Voltz, and also the director of the show, one of the authors, Sean Patterson. Here's a picture of Sean with his wife, Cammie, and their son, Finn. And that was, of course, from the production that they did of A Christmas Carol some years ago at Le Petit. Again, maybe a couple of surprises, too. That's tomorrow night on any one of the 3 sites that we broadcast to. Check it out. Now, last year, Peggy, it was a year like no other on Broadway. Everything was shut down. And the biggest thing before that, the most controversial work, was a pre-pandemic thing called Slave Play, which was written by Jeremy O'Harris and directed by Robert O'Hara. Well, Torrey Townsend has presented a work that he wrote, which is basically a series of Zoom meetings that depict various staff members of a nonprofit theater during the pandemic trying to save themselves from sexual harassment claims, and even trying to put on a proposed Othello, starring, of all people, Al Pacino. Again, not necessarily what I would suggest. Among the stars of stage and screen involved are Dylan Baker, Richard Kind, and Hal Linden. So it streams for free for the next several days. I recommend you check it out. It's very comedic, but it also opens up a lot of opportunities to talk about some of the things facing theater at this time. Now, not necessarily theater, but Steve Good is a motorcyclist who loves deli, and he's going across the country into 42 states to sample the best delis across the country on his motorcycle. Those sites were picked by Nosher, a website dedicated to Jewish food. Well, you can check out this uneasy rider as he wheels into the Crescent City to check out Stein's Deli on Magazine Street at 11:30 this Saturday morning. And now, isn't really theater, as I said, but it should be pretty dramatic, and a chance, by the way, to eat a hot pastrami or a corned beef sandwich.
Okay, and we should say that's Saturday, the 3rd, July the 3rd.
Correct.
So, just making sure everybody knows that. Okay, and now it's time for our picks of the week. Poppy.
Jan got us all ready for the festing, and we don't have to wait till October. This weekend, there's plenty of festing to be had. There's the Creole Tomato Festival happening Saturday at the French Market. There'll be delicious food. There'll be delicious, fabulous music. The tomatoes this year are great. And the Zydeco Fest will be happening also on Saturday at the New Orleans Jazz Museum at the Mint.
Okay, thank you so much. Kevin.
Well, you know, being a board member of the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation, I have to totally agree with Poppy because, gang, we have the whole month here to celebrate Power Plates. And that is basically the potential of women entrepreneurs realized. So why not this weekend to do that? Go give a toast at Mr. B's to Michelle, who is a wonderful woman, a wonderful chef, and of course, one of the most powerful women in this city. cooking-wise.
And you're also going to be covering it yourself on Channel 4, huh? When is
Yes.
that going to be on?
I'm doing that Friday morning on the news.
Okay, great. Thank you. Jan.
Well, there's always so much to pick, and I'm going with what I would recommend. On the 3rd, which is Thursday, I'd go see Dee Dee Bridgewater, who's going to be at the Chanteuse series at the Joyce Wein Center, which is attached to the Jazz Fest office. They're doing a series there, and she's a female singer, and Dee Dee is a wonderful person. She moved to New Orleans not too long ago, and she's fantastic. She's nationally known. I would say on the 4th of July, which everybody might be at home, but they might want to go have a beer out at the Faubourg Brewery and enjoy Jonathan Long. He used to be known as Jonathan Boogie Long. He's a young guy from Baton Rouge. He's a fantastic blues player. And at 2:30, and then Little Freddie King at 4:30, who's also one of my favorites. And on the 7th, the Iguanas at the Broadside at 8 o'clock.
Wow.
You can't go wrong.
That Broadside has become such an important venue, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, and thank goodness for it. It was outside, and it was fortuitous for them, for sure.
Yeah, if they just need to deal with the weather, but what you going to do?
Yeah,
It's like,
well, that's right.
Okay,
That's
thank
correct.
you, Jan. Alan.
Well, an indoor event coming up next week will be a piece for the Young Professional Organization of the New Orleans Opera Association. That's the Big Wig Ball Cabaret Soiree, a fundraiser, and everybody's encouraged to wear costumes and, of course, what else? Big wigs. I'll see you at the theater.
Thank you. And now my picks. City Park's 3rd of July celebration returns with the concert on the Gold Ring Wildenberg lawn, and that's the Marine Corps Reserve Forces Band starting at 7 o'clock. I would definitely go earlier, and they're usually piping in music before that, but to get a good spot, singer Robin Barnes will sing the Star Spangled Banner, and there will be fireworks. Yay! On Wednesday from 2 to 6 p.m., WYES will host a blood drive at the station. We're in Lakeview, behind Delgado College, 916 Navarre. Thank you all so very much for being with us. Happy 4th. It's great to see you all. Welcome, welcome. Take care. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Rouse's is proud of the creativity and the unparalleled entertainment in New Orleans, and honored to highlight it with their sponsorship of Steppin Out on WYES.